welcome to episode 4 of Freewheeling with Rides and Drives. I'm Harvey Briggs, the editor and publisher of Rides and Drives, and today's studio is the oh-so-fast and oh-so-fun Lexus Rcf. Now, this two-door sport coupe has a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 engine that makes a very respectable 472 horsepower. And decked out as mine is in flare yellow with almost all the options, it comes in at just under $88,000. Well, it's no surprise that COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders are wreaking havoc on the auto industry. Everybody's cutting back, and it's not just on the hourly workforce at the factories. Honda, Nissan, BMW have all furloughed salaried employees. GM, Ford, FCA, and others have had their executives take big pay cuts. Even Tesla has cut its directors' salaries by up to 30%. So there's a lot of belt tightening going on right now. Everybody does want to get back to work, and they're making plans and hoping to be rolling again in early May, but no one knows for sure. GM and the UAW and other automakers are all sitting down to try to figure out how to do it safely, and everybody really is working hard to get back to work, but nobody wants to do that if it's going to put human lives at risk. Knowing this will all be over sometime, however, the automakers are starting to dribble out some news. Hyundai announced that their brilliant Veloster N will be available with an 8-speed DCT, which is good news for those of you who haven't bothered to learn to drive a stick. You'll be able to enjoy this car now as well. Cadillac announced that the name of their top-of-the-line performance cars will now be called Blackwing. So what used to be the CTS-V or the ATS-V is now the CT5V Blackwing. V is sort of a mid-performance. You have to go all the way up to Blackwing to get that high horsepower, race-bred suspension and all of that. And the word is those cars are brilliant. Other news from GM, they have partnered with Honda to provide them with batteries from their new battery series for Honda's next generation of electric cars. On the website, we've added a few new drive impressions and videos. We've got a great interview with Mike Payton. He's the head of Mini, that they call it their chief motorer, and he talks a lot about his career coming up in the auto business and then in the motorcycle industry with Harley Davidson and BMW Motorrad, and how that experience really applies to his work now at Mini. One of the other things we've noticed is that it's a really tough time for racing. All the racing series are on hiatus. Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, races are being canceled. The Indy 500 has now been delayed until August. Detroit Grand Prix is canceled. The Monaco Grand Prix is canceled. And the automakers, race teams, and drivers are all starting now to compete in virtual racing. NBC has been airing IndyCar and NASCAR races that are virtual with the actual drivers driving, computerized cars. So if you want to get your racing fix, you can look to that. I've been going back and watching a bunch of racing movies that I love, and I thought I'd just take a minute and share a few of my favorite racing movies with you. Everyone knows about the big movies like Le Mans, Ford versus Ferrari, Days of Thunder, The Love Bug, Talladega Nights. Just go watch those. They're a lot of fun, real good entertainment. But there are a bunch of other great movies that maybe if you're not a hardcore fan, you haven't heard of or haven't had the opportunity to see. Now that we're all stuck at home, it's a great opportunity to check these out. So let's start with the Gumball Rally. It's a comedy, and it really sends up the very real Cannonball Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Run, which was started by Brock Yates and Steve Smith from Car and Driver. A number of movies have been made about the Cannonball, including Cannonball Run starring Burt Reynolds, but Gumball Rally is my favorite. The next one in the comedy category is The Great Race, which is a retelling of the 1908 New York to Paris trophy run. And by retelling, I mean completely made up version of it. Blake Edwards, the director of the Pink Panther movies and a number of other great comedies, directs this one, and it stars Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Natalie Wood. You're going to come for the cars, but you're going to want to stay for the pie fight on this one. Moving into dramas, Rush is a great retelling of the story of Niki Lauda and James Hunt, their friendship, their rivalry, and a season that really turned Formula One into a global phenomenon. Another drama about Formula One is Grand Prix, starring James Garner. This was a huge hit when it came out, and it is just a beautiful movie from a racing footage and a period piece. Captures the 60s in a way that no other racing movie has. It's a little melodramatic in the story, but getting to see people like Jim Clark, Dan Gurney, Phil Hill, Chris Amon, and a bunch of other 60s Formula One stars driving in this film is worth the pain of some of that story. But if you're looking for the true stories, let's finish with documentaries, and there are 4 of them that I really highly recommend. The first is Senna, the story of Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time, and his brilliant life and tragic ending. The next is Willie T. Ribb's story, Uppity. It really captures the struggles that he had as an African American trying to break into the male white dominated sport of motor racing in the 1970s. The third documentary I think you really ought to take a look at is The 24-Hour War. It is the Ford versus Ferrari story without all the Hollywood histrionics and revisionist storytelling in it. And the last documentary I'm recommending is an all-time favorite for me, right at the top of the list. It's a motorcycle racing documentary called On Any Sunday. It's by Bruce Brown. He directed Endless Summer and a number of other documentaries. Make sure you watch this On Any Sunday 1, the original movie. I saw this as an 11-year-old kid, and it's why I ride a motorcycle today. About 25 years ago, I met one of the stars of the film, Malcolm Smith, on a ride, and I mentioned to him that, I ride motorcycles because of this film and his performance in it. And he said to me, if I had $1 for every time someone said that to me, I'd probably be the richest man in America. So those are some great movies you should check out. I probably missed some. Any favorites of yours, go ahead, post them in the comments here, and I'll try to check those out as well. That's all the freewheeling I have for this week. I'll be back next week with more news and information about the auto industry. Until then, make sure you hit subscribe and then tap the bell so you get notified every time we post a new video. Have a great week. Stay safe, be well, and stay at home. That'll help us all get back on the road a little sooner.